Hello everybody, this is Albert from Green Tea House. I hope you're doing well today. Today we're going to talk about exactly what is dark tea. Now before we begin, I highly recommend that you check out episode 1, which is our first episode on what is the tea plant and how the leaves of the tea plant are plucked and processed to determine the color tea that comes from it. So dark tea is a very unique tea in that unlike the other teas that we have, it undergoes after rolling fermentation. So you could call dark teas a probiotic drink. It is been fermented and has a microbial colony on it, similar to what you would find in kombucha and in Greek yogurt and in miso and all these other probiotic foods. And that is wholly specific to dark teas. Now, dark teas, sometimes you'll hear them called pu'er. And the reason they're called pu'er is it comes from this city in the Yunnan province where dark teas are grown. Now, it is not a black tea, even though the color may be similar, even though black teas are called red teas in China because of the red liqueur, but it's not a branch of black teas. It's its own separate tea. It's called dark tea because of the fermentation process and because black tea doesn't undergo fermentation at all. So pu'er leaves, or pu'er tea, dark tea, is a fermented drink. And because of that, its taste and its aroma, I would personally say is most similar to coffee. So if you have somebody who's coming from drinking coffee their entire life and doesn't know much about teas, I would tell them like a good transition to go from coffee to tea would be to go from coffee to start drinking the pu'er dark teas, because for me the flavor profile of the pu'ers is very coffee-esque. It's very dark and it's very robust. Within the pu'er teas, you have tuocha. So tuocha are fermented dark tea leaves that are formed into little cups. And so tuocha is just the name of these little bowls that they're formed into. And there's different shapes and so forth, but typically they're like little small little bowls. So when you buy pu'er tea, you can either buy it loose leaf, and we offer loose leaf, or you can buy it shaped into tuocha, into these little bowls. The other interesting thing about dark teas is you can get them in cakes, large cakes, where they have been, after their fermentation process, and dried, because remember, all tea needs to be dried. So in the case of dark teas, they are rolled, then they're fermented, and then of course they have to dry them. And they can be formed into these cakes. And these cakes are awesome. They're just, I think that just the visual aesthetic of the cakes are amazing because they look great, they smell great, and then you can break off pieces and then steep them the way you want to steep them. And I think that the super amazing thing about pu'er teas is, unlike other teas that get bad, and we know like green teas, white teas tend to get bad quicker, and we'll have future episodes on this. Pu'er tea is like wine, in that the longer you let it sit, the better the taste is going to be and the more valuable the pu'er tea is going to be. Now you have raw and ripened pu'er. So raw pu'er is a cake or the tea leaves that have just been allowed to ferment indefinitely. Okay, they haven't accelerated it. And then ripened pu'er is where they've undergone accelerated the fermentation process to get to a certain point. So the taste profiles are a little different, but either way, the pu'er tea is very unique in that the longer you wait, the better it tastes. So it's like when you're gonna pull out like a 1962 red wine, it's the same thing with pu'er cakes and the leaves in general. They don't get bad. They don't get bad. I'm not saying you should leave them outside in humid conditions with sun bearing on it, and we'll talk about the best way to keep your tea fresh. But the tea is unique in that it gets better with age. And that's what makes it fundamentally different than the 5 other teas that we get from the Camellia sinensis plant. So in closing, pu'er tea is called dark tea. You can get in loose leaf, you can get in tuocha, those little cups, or you can get them in cakes, and they are a fermented probiotic drink. Guys, post in the comments, let me know if you've ever had pu'er tea. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.